It's always a lovely day when opportunity is flexible. There are some thoughts that fill your head with lead, and there are some thoughts that fill your head uh, and transform it, becoming more buoyant. And there are some thoughts that are deleterious to progress in any manner or attitude or defining a definition. And these thoughts are not friends, but they appear to be so. They will filter themselves into the mind as this means of making change into the world. These ideas that fill minds with lead, but they are not immediate in their discovery. And there is the delay, and there is the endurance, and there is the patience to allow certain things of thinking to go on for an extended period of time. And especially how these thoughts are able to infiltrate and mimic uh, indigenous, pure, charitable, kind, truthful, and honest thought, and righteously progressive thought is a true inquiry to be taken upon in how it is appears for each. That misunderstanding or the spirit of misunderstanding the counterpart of the spirit of truth be described not in its fullness or in public, that it may find a way to uh, redefine itself, reform itself. I never attack evil head on. It only finds another way, another branch to go on. Well, that's the tree, or call it the ladder of creativity, when man switches from one mode of operation to another in an attempt to reach for a higher, more economical option. These are all ways the world creates itself. These are all ways the world is capable. These are all ways the world is capable of unworldly things or uncharacteristic behavior. Well, what is characterized as its behavior? Where does it come from? The portal into universalism is on scrutinizing to allow any option be possible. These thoughts, and how about the thoughts that turn, that create the mind more buoyantly? That makes the mind more buoyant. That makes the mind more levitating. That makes the mind more elevating. It's in the direction of elevation, but directionally unhelpful or non-operative. That only what it does is seeks to increase one's acquaintance with the facts of life is that buoyant, uh, the buoyancy. And to think these things are to move in and leap into the void with intellectual faith that the decision is righteous simply because of its uh, perhaps degree of self-control, but how the that the option is correct by the degree of self-control it requires to be acted, and saying that's one means for empowerment. Or if you in any situation where the option to exercise more self-control, to be less self-destructive, to be more or less conflicting internally, these are all genuine and useful paradigm to carry with, paradigms to continue with. The buoyancy of thinking clearly or purely or authentically or actualized, yeah, in an actualized manner, thinking in an actualized manner. These are all part of the aspects of assimilating this point of view, attitude, disposition, all the other things that come into rush into place to complete that thought structure. And the distinction there between one manner of deciding that will also paint in the next second of one's life, and how strange these things are. Reality carries a certain kind of cadence, is the word that immediately rushes, surviving for uh, belief in its goals, but it carries a certain amount of cadence, and that cadence gives the slipperiness that the grasping action of contemplation is wrestling with. And it and it gives it, but the mind grasp it, of course. It's a grip on something, like the tentacles extending onto the abstract programming landscape that is the internal conceptualization by a comprehensive analysis of what the world is and the appropriate way to coordinate oneself and navigate it. The cadence of it, how, where it is, locating it. Obviously, it's availability and simultaneous unavailability, and locating it. Where is it? How is it? What is it? Where is it? Interesting. I mean things, but God knows, and God knows many things. No, have it been said here that the humans get too old fast, they get and slow, very slowly, and get smarter. In essence, slowing down by less is more. But they realize that slowly they get smart in this manner, in this way. Yeah, with this methodology. How is it that he become methodical? Systematizing how things are. It requires coordination for a certain bombardment of the unpredictability of the world. Is that man is not solid in his command, in his execution. It's not entirely up to himself. He's not entirely up to himself. Meaning that there's the unpredictability about socializing, and why the higher animals consider each and others strangers. And how does it become so? How does the split emerge? When does the bridge start to fall apart? Does they arrive? But consider them from the branches of one tree that are obscure to other sides of the branches of another tree. They occupy entirely different angle of approach. So they have different perspective onto the whole. The whole is the spherical panoramic surrounding, but yet access to this panoramic spherical surrounding, it's once not well. It begins with one's perspective, and then from perspective and compilation of views, then they can become to cultivate the best prototypical representation of the surrounding. That's one method to it. But how does it become so obscure, the higher animals, that they name each and others strangers? And why so that it becomes this way? Relating how the world is, the is its cadence, its grasp, how it is different from one to another. It's only what it's taking in, getting slow, slowly approaching comprehensive and understanding. But yet, by the time period one has to go through this process, rapidly burning through it, and perhaps on the way carrying along a chain of inherited experience that they would rather not be accompanied with. And if they could return to that chain, would they substitute, paradigmatically substitute different events different events now that they have now they have the clip of the whole, now they have their entire lifespan section strip image. Will they go out and crop portions? Yes, because these portions, even in their immediacy or felt presence, are subject to judgment, and there are certain events that are drastically less worthy of occurrence than other events. And these are the data points to edit and continuously more in the direction of one. So yes, in getting smart slowly and accumulating certain experiences very rapidly and balancing the ratio is a collective of action at this point. But it requires man in his whole to play a certain game. He's not independently entirely up to himself. His independence full circle to get and carrying out the tools that have been that were along the way towards that. revisiting of a past thought, that he's not independent in himself. What he can do to reduce his internal conflict, creating a more decisive, less indecisive, and decision-making system, a methodology to hitting the mark, and now it becomes automatic. But the world has to keep its dancer on their toes as well, but yet not so stable that they're not dynamic. Have to be able to shift from dynamism to stability back to adaptability, i.e., dynamism. And these are all ways that man is not independent up to himself, or what encourages this collective and uh, collective goal, drive, instinct to recreate or to turn into. Yet it begins from this process of broadcasting, of sharing, that is possibly a subject of my interest in listening, and this beautiful access to how things can be gives one the privilege to do exactly what goes on when these things go on, and when others take hold of different angles or views and perspective as other do. A mean thing ending if it's not most acquainted with the message of authentic actualization and opening up the earth and in the Gospel of Eden, how those three go hand in hand, and that meaning literally that good news that is worth hearing, that is worth understanding, that is worth now I see it that way, and maybe then I can go on evaluating it, but at least to that point of view. There is enough array of information that the decision maker has enough pool to make a adequate decision, and well, and then all are bidding in the marketplace. The memes here, and that this level of evolution, the memes are competing and compiling, and others have the sneakiest of the subterfuge of passing through one's already pre-existing vices. Proclivity for vice-like behavior, and sneaking through that alleyway, and then inoculating the agent with this parasitic or beholden. And others go through what I believe is the standard process of rational persuasion, where you're presented with a proposition, you evaluate it on your values and once again goals, and see if that process yield a result of belief or a result of non-belief or a result of indifference. And this is the rational persuasive procedure to encourage, to change, to publish, to publicize, to propagandize, to organize around this movement, and singularly it being concerned with authentic actualization, um, the Gospel of Eden, and mainly the anthropogenic reconstruction that has to go on. Not in the manner of physical assets, but it's the lag in the competition in its development, whereas the paradigmatic side that is further back, but its leaps, once they're accomplished, cover larger miles than its competitors. So after this leap happens, man, he's really headed for high places, and mainly so is in this case then to encourage the attempt to think or to rethink how things have been so far, how they could be, what is the positive vision of the future that one is longing after or is supposedly pursuing, and also in to encourage it being normalized, that this manner of thinking, it's the same that's always been internally, the one being mode of the world. It's only carrying this archetype that fits through almost any keyhole of situational obstacle that could confront an agent in the arena. There's really only one mode of operation to carry on, and they all have rushed in there to fill out that placeholder that was already it's only it already exists as its answer as the availability of the placeholder. But these are different angles to approach its answer, and but unnecessarily so. If if unnecessarily so if then it's rethought from this axis of approach from this axis of approach, where is the agent singularly separated, isolated from all these multitude of options to encourage, well, in this case, not encourage, but to cultivate, to gestate and germinate or spawn, to spawn this alternative to these other multitudes of options. And in that case, then it becomes the more, let's say, communal. It becomes the more communal option, and that it fits every other attitude out there. It does not negate the past. In this case, it has a compatibility mechanism to bring in the prior and disposition, and then by the means of attaching it to this axis of approach, then in this final analysis, perhaps it makes it more communal. Yeah, meaning there are access with from anywhere on the intellectual Silk Road. Well, maybe they'll stop there and save more for other times.